Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. If you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button because you're on the road to 100 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. We're getting so close to that mark. If you love sports news, sports betting, special segments, updated rankings every single week, daily uploads, my reactions, anything at all, it's all right here on the Talk of the Town podcast. So I promise you, your subscription will be well worth it and much, much appreciated. And speaking of special segments today, we have Why Not Wednesday. Why not answer any questions you guys have for me right here on the podcast. If you want your questions answered right here every single Wednesday, make sure to hit @talkofthetown_pod on Instagram, TikTok, or even right here in the YouTube comments if you like, and you get your questions answered right here every single Wednesday on the podcast. So let's get in to the first question here today. First question is, I think Jared Goff is one of the most underrated quarterbacks, not only of the last 10 years or so, but really ever. I want to hear your opinion on Jared Goff. I definitely agree. I think Jared Goff within the last 10 years is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. But in terms of ever, I'm not necessarily going to say that yet. Just because his career isn't finished, we don't necessarily know what's going to happen the rest of his career. Maybe he won't be underrated by the end of his career. He might pull out a couple Super Bowls with Detroit, may end up getting to another one. Who knows? But my predictions for the end of his career, I think he's going to fit in right there with that Matt Ryan, kind of Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning kind of category of quarterbacks, to where they're not quite in the top group of guys, but they're like that step below. But they're on the Hall of Fame ballot. So I think Jared Goff could definitely be up there with those guys. I mean, in terms of every passing statistic, touchdowns, passing yards, Jared Goff is probably going to be up there by the end of his career, unless he has some major injury, obviously, which obviously no one wants, but that would really be the only thing holding him back at this point, because the base he's on is he's probably going to be up there with those guys, and he does have a Super Bowl appearance. For one, with Jared Goff, is that I definitely agree that he is one of the more underrated quarterbacks of the last 10 years or so. That trade with him and Matt Stafford was like one of the most balanced trades, not only in the NFL, but really in sports history, to be completely honest with you. And back in 2020, it was 2020 they made the trade. Stafford won the Super Bowl in 2021. It didn't look balanced at all. Matt Stafford had the Super Bowl in his first year at the LA Rams, and Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions were absolutely atrocious. I remember watching the Lions, and I was like, this really isn't Jared Goff's fault. It was like Dan Campbell's first year as a head coach in Detroit, and the team just was not very good in general. Now, very young team, kind of holding on to some of them old players, some of those old players from the Stafford era, and they just kind of had to pivot and move off it, and they ended up doing that. The next year they were like 9-8. They started off like 2-6, the Lions did. Then they actually ended up finishing like 9-8, and we're about to get a playoff spot. And they ended up ending the Green Bay Packers season back in 22, and then from there on, the Lions have been steamrolling. I mean, Stafford won a Super Bowl his first year there, and has sustained success with the Rams to this point. And Jared Goff did something that Stafford couldn't do as well, which was lead the Lions to a couple of playoff wins. And led him to a number one seed, 15-2, best record in franchise history. And Stafford did something that Goff couldn't do with the Rams, and that is win the Super Bowl. Something Goff didn't do with the Rams. He did end up getting there, of course, but he did not end up winning one, as we know. So that was one of the more balanced trades. And I think some people were really slamming Goff, and it kind of makes him look. People don't necessarily put him up there with the elites because they see that trade. They see Stafford ended up winning a ring. Goff didn't. For one, Goff is a dying breed of quarterback. That's just statue pocket passer kind of quarterback is really a dying breed. Him and Stafford are really the only ones left, to be completely honest with you. Right now, and we know, people love seeing like Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, like those kind of players. People just find them more exciting, which is true to an extent. They're definitely more explosive and make more electric plays. But in terms of just pure arm talent, those guys do have incredible arm talent. But I just mean standing in the pocket and just picking apart teams. No one quite does it like those two. And those are dying breeds of quarterbacks right there. So, Jared Goff, people say, well, he benefits from the Lions having so much talent. That's true. I mean, any quarterback's going to benefit from any amount of talent they have on our team, especially if it's a really good amount of talent, which Jared Goff does have. But Jared Goff definitely excels that talent as well. I think he fits that system very well of just sitting in the pocket, just picking apart teams, having that dual-headed force with Gibbs and Montgomery back there in the running back room. Definitely helps their case, I'd say. So, yeah, man. Jared Goff, I think I completely agree, is one of the more underrated quarterbacks of the last 10 years or so. Yeah, I really like him. People don't quite see him up there with the elites, but he just feels like that little bit of a step down just because he doesn't quite have the electric running ability, of course, like I mentioned. I mean, he is slow as slow gets back there, especially when he has to roll out, hit behind that offensive line and everything. I think he could still pull off another Super Bowl. I think he could get to one with Detroit, especially this year. I mean, Philly feels a little off. Even though they're 4-0, they're still pulling out games. But Philadelphia just feels like, I don't know, it's not clicking for Philly right now. They're winning games, but then they have stretches down the games where, like, it is just not clicking for that team at all. Like, they dominate for a bit, and then, like, a majority of the game, it's like, is Philly still a Super Bowl contender? I think they are, personally, but people are really talking about it now. It just seems off in Philly right now. Detroit is definitely going to be competing in February to get to that Super Bowl spot. So that would definitely help his case in terms of being underrated in the league. And I agree. I think if he could win an MVP or really get up there in the ballot, which this year there's not really a runaway MVP candidate, Jared Goff could be up there in the MVP ballot. If he could pull that off, man, that would really help his case a ton. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and find out. But I do agree, in the last 10 years, Jared Goff is definitely one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. Next question is, I just seen a graphic on Cam Ward and Will Levis's first 4 starts, and Levis's was better in every aspect. Yet no one bashes Cam Ward for it. Why is that? I'm a Titans fan, and Cam Ward looks awful to start for us. Well, Will Levis, I think, was coming into a lot better of a situation. I think that I know. And what, he was a second-round pick. I remember there was the debate of, are they going to take Will Levis 4th overall to the Colts? It was between him and Anthony Richardson, and either one has not worked out. So that kind of goes to show you they both should have went in the second round or whatever. But I'm looking at the graphic here. In terms of their first 4 starts, this is Levis. Levis has 1 win compared to Cam Ward 0. He has a 58.9 completion percentage to Cam Ward's 51.2. Will Levis has 857 passing yards to Cam Ward's 614. And the touchdown to interception ratio, Will Levis has a 6-2 compared to Cam Ward's 2-2. Will Levis was definitely kind of coming into a better situation. He still had Derrick Henry. He had Mike Vrabel. He had DeAndre Hopkins, which mind you, that touchdown to interception ratio is kind of boosted off of Will Levis's first game, where he had like 3 passing touchdowns of all to D-Hop. But besides that, I mean, Will Levis did have a kind of rough afterwards, to be completely honest with you. He was not great after that first game. I remember we were like, dude, is this guy going to step in and be like one of the best quarterbacks in the league? It looked like in his first game in the league, I was like, oh my God, man, Will Levis looked incredible. But Cam Ward's situation is absolutely atrocious. I mean, I'm not going to base whether or not Cam Ward can play quarterback or not based off of this year for the Tennessee Titans. Has he looked great? Absolutely not. I watched his tape and I'm like, yeah, Cam Ward does not look very good. But you also watch his tape and you see the offensive line get absolutely trounced, and his receivers can't get open. I mean, he is really throwing to a group of receivers that is like bottom of the barrel. Calvin Ridley is just really not a number 1 receiver in the NFL at all. Tyler Lockett's shown his age. I mean, the guys he's throwing to are just not very good at all. Then his offensive line on top of that is one of the worst in the NFL. So I'm not going to base whether or not, and I think we all agree, like, whether or not Cam Ward can play quarterback based off of these first 4 games, because this team is absolutely atrocious. I don't think Brian Callahan is really a good head coach at all. I think next year they should go look for a better head coach than Brian Callahan. I think they'd be better off, and it would really help in Cam Ward's development, because he does need to develop. Sometimes he throws some weird arm angle throws that are really inaccurate. And I get he's trying to get the ball off quick, but he could use a little bit better development. I think even if he had a decent team around him right now, Cam Ward would still have some issues, especially some accuracy issues right now. There's some stuff there that is expected to be there with a rookie quarterback. And I get where your take is coming from because Pete Prisco, I know you've seen the graphic of Pete Prisco. I'm sure this is what you're going off of him saying, well, why did Will Levis get this kind of bashing, but Cam Ward did? It's like, dude, the teams, he had a prime Derrick Henry, he had a D-Hop who still went for 1,000 yards in a season. He's been a pretty competitive team back there. There wasn't necessarily all that great. Like his offensive line wasn't very good either. It ended up making Derrick Henry look kind of like he was getting old. I mean, the Tennessee Titans offensive line has been bad for years now. They have not been able to rebuild that offensive line. And if they don't do that, Cam Ward is going to end up not being a Tennessee Titan in like 3 years. So, I'm not, trust me, I don't think Cam Ward really deserves any bashing right now, because if you watch a Tennessee Titans game, which I'm assuming you have, but it's really hard. It's hard to watch. It is really hard to watch. It reminds me, I'm a Patriots fan, and the Patriots last year were an atrocious watch for anybody, even Patriots fans. It was hard for me to watch a Patriots game. That's how I feel about the Titans. It's hard to watch a Titans game. And I can only imagine as a Titan fan because the offensive line is so bad, and you're watching your young quarterback literally get beat to death and not be able to make a play, which in turn creates turnovers and doesn't really create any positives. So they haven't really had that. I mean, if you watch the Rams game, that throw he had, I forget to who it was. I mean, it's not, I can't really remember the receiver's name at all. But he made some crazy throw across his body, across the field in the end zone. I mean, the dude is plenty athletic to play the quarterback position and has a very good arm. He just has a terrible team around him. So I don't think anyone's really going to bash Cam Ward. I think we all watch Titans game. You can put Allen, you can put Mahomes, you can put Lamar in this situation. No one's succeeding with this Tennessee Titans team. So especially as a rookie quarterback who usually rookies struggle in the NFL unless you're Jane Daniels or CJ Stroud, and no one really thinks of Cam Ward that way anyway. But I think this dude can definitely work. And Will Levis was already pretty questionable coming into the league anyway, and he had some really bad turnovers. I mean, Will Levis looks very mechanical. I don't know if anyone's, or if you've watched him, it's just his arm angles. Like, I don't know. He has all of like the arm strength talent, arm talent of the world. But in terms of just being a good quarterback, Will Levis had a lot of really stupid turnovers, especially last year. And you just had the feeling like Will Levis can't play quarterback. He can't be a starting quarterback in the NFL at all. Now, a lot of boomer bust there with Will Levis, but Cam Ward, I mean, he doesn't really deserve any bashing at all right now. He is playing in a god-awful situation, like the worst situation in the NFL. That team is terrible. Next question is, with the NFL going on right now, and yes, I know I love asking NBA questions on your pod, who is your favorite to win NBA MVP this year? I'll make this quick just because I think it's going to be the same, really, as it is. I think it's going to be Jokic, I think it's going to be Giannis, and I think it's going to be Shea. I think those, and Luka Doncic, I think you can throw him in there. I don't think Luka's going to win MVP just because he's playing with LeBron. And although I do think the league would love to see him win MVP, especially as a Laker, but I think Jokic, I think Shea might go back-to-back, to be honest with you. The league loves him in terms of they call it his swag, his dressing, stuff like that. The players love him. He's on a ton of commercials everywhere. It's a 2K26 cover. I think they're going to give it to him, and I think OKC could end up going back-to-back. In terms of that, I don't really see anyone but those four who are going to win MVP. Curry's getting a little too old. He doesn't play enough games. In terms of winning MVP now in the NBA, it comes in terms of your health. Of how reliable are you to play? And Jokic and Giannis and Shea and Luka, I mean, they're all pretty reliable. I know Luka's dealt with some injuries the last couple of years, so that's why I don't really throw him in. But I think those are the top three that I think are going to be in the MVP conversation. Jokic, until the day he decides to retire, will probably end up being there, just based off he's a walking triple-double and his basketball IQ is just out of this world. He's still in his prime, and he's one of the best basketball players on the planet. But Shea, they love Shea. He's going to be another top scorer in the league again. So, yeah, man, I think those are going to be. I think Giannis is. I think if I had to bet right now, in terms of Giannis's team not being very good and the East being as bad as it is, I think that team's going to finish like a top 3 seed just because Giannis is really going to be the main ball handler on that team. And as I just mentioned, the East is not very good at all. they could end up very well giving him MVP. Giannis kind of seems hungry for it this year. Like, he's very pissed off, especially in Milwaukee. Which I think in terms is going to lead to him really playing like he's been an MVP candidate the last few years, even though he hasn't won it in a while. If I had to say this though, over Jokic and Shea, I think Giannis is going to win MVP this year. It's a little bit of a hot take. People probably going to say, oh, well, I think Shea's going to go back to back. They're probably going to win the championship again, which I get. But in terms of just their scenario and being the most valuable player to their team and their organization, I'm going to have to give it to Giannis. I think Giannis is going to win MVP this year. I hope I can repost this later on in the future, around 9 months from now when they announce the NBA MVP. Hopefully I can go back and repost this because trust me, I remember everything, dude. And I will go back and I will repost this. I'm going to make, again, you asked me a question a few weeks ago about some of my NBA takes, whether or not I'll be doing more NBA content. Absolutely. I love the NBA just as much as I do the NFL. So when the season rolls around, you'll definitely see a lot more NBA content, but there ain't a damn thing going on with the NBA right now, so there ain't much to talk about there. So, yeah, definitely will be more NBA content here on the YouTube channel coming up very soon, especially during the NBA playoffs, right? We'll be talking a lot about the NBA. So if you love the NBA, stick around, and you'll see a lot more content soon. So, yeah, I'm going to take Giannis. I think Giannis is going to win the MVP this year, barring his circumstances and the Eastern Conference in general. I think the man is literally going to feast every single game, and he's going to be the main guy on that team now. Him and Miles Turner down low are going to be a pretty incredible defensive force. So, yeah, man, I'm going to take Giannis, even though most people would take Jokic and Shea. Taking Giannis. Next question is, loving your pod, dude. You're doing great. You're doing great things. I'm surprised you're only at 94 subs. My question is, I've seen your Bryce Young take, and would you change it seeing him so far at the start of this season? And I appreciate it, by the way. I mean, I change it right now. We're only in week 5, but he's not quite, blowing me away. The start of the season, I was like, after the first game, I was like, God, please don't make me look like an idiot, Bryce Young. And he made me look like an idiot there for a little bit, to be honest with you. But he is playing better. He's not really turning the ball over right now. He's went throughout a couple of games without turning the ball over. They beat the Falcons 30-0 a couple weeks ago, but Sunday they got blown out by the Patriots, and he didn't really have a bad game. I mean, the play calling, to be honest with you, was horrible. They were just running on like 3rd down and 10, not letting Bryce Young throw. I was like, why? Even the fan base was going crazy on Dave Canales. They're calling for his job already. So we're going to have to see with that. But in terms of Bryce Young, I don't think he's going to be an MVP candidate, but Bryce Young is definitely making improvement. And him and that Teteroa-McMillan combo, that duo I was talking about, which is why I think he would take that leap into maybe potentially being an MVP candidate. That duo has definitely worked so far. Teteroa-McMillan has looked very good, and him and Bryce Young have had a really good connection. And, I think that part of my take has looked great. But in terms of the MVP, him being an MVP candidate has not necessarily looked so great to this point. I've been a little disappointed in terms of him, like, kind of taking that next step in terms of being that quarterback, which I know he can be, but will he be that? I do not know to this point. There's still a ton left to the season. Panthers have a long season ahead of them, it looks like, but yeah, man, we're gonna have to wait and see. I love Bryce Young. I do think there's potential for him to be a really good quarterback in this league, but I think in terms of him being on the Carolina Panthers, it's just not going to happen, especially with Dave Canales. But I love him and Teteroa-McMillan. They look like they've really formed a connection, as I mentioned. That's one of the things I had in that take was him and Teteroa-McMillan really building a connection there in Carolina, and they have. And he's definitely helped him look better throughout these first few weeks. But in terms of some of just the boneheaded turnovers he had at the beginning of the season, and again, I don't really like the play calling for Bryce Young. I think it should be a lot more just quick throws, slants for him, get that ball out quick, because that offensive line, which looks good at moments, but then looks terrible at moments, really can kind of let him down sometimes. And I think they go to throw a lot of deep balls down the field, especially to McMillan. And I mean, it's just like, bro, get the ball out quick. If Bryce Young can get the ball out quick, he'd look a lot better. I just think the play calling around him as well is not very good. Go back and watch the tape on the Panthers as well. And a lot of the routes they run, a lot of the offensive play calling is just not really within his favor. It doesn't really fit his play style, to be completely honest with you. So, not trying to make excuses for him. He definitely has some really bad, boneheaded mistakes that he made at the beginning of the season. There's still a long way to go, but definitely a little bit disappointed in my own Bryce Young take so far. So I would maybe change it a tad bit, but in terms of some things I said, though, it has stuck and it has actually worked, but he's definitely not an MVP candidate right now. Next question I have is, do you think there's anywhere Justin Fields could actually win it all? I see this guy on my Jets, and I just feel for him. All the talent's there, but it hasn't led to any success in his career. Do you think he could actually win games in the NFL? It's kind of strange with Justin Fields because he's extremely inconsistent. Some throws, you'll see him for a couple of drives, and it's like, dude, this guy is the franchise. He is our franchise quarterback. And then some games you'll look and it's like, God, this guy's fun. Even you look at some drives and it's like, dude, what are you doing? In terms of athletic ability, it's through the roof. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But in terms of being consistent passing-wise, he definitely struggles. He definitely struggles a good bit, which is kind of been his downfall so far in the NFL. It's when he played on some really bad Chicago Bears teams, and he actually looked really good on the Steelers. Some Steelers fans still wish they had Justin Fields. Even though they are 3-1 right now, they're not really rocking with Aaron Rodgers right now, to be honest with you. Which I understand. Aaron Rodgers does look very old. But they are still 3-1 with Aaron Rodgers. But Justin Fields, the Jets right now are not very good at all. Again, he plays on teams, besides Pittsburgh last year, he goes to teams where you can put very, very few quarterbacks in that can win. Like, the situations he's in are just terrible. Again, he actually got put in a pretty good situation at Pittsburgh. He was like 3-0, 3-1, especially when he had to replace Russell Wilson for a little bit. And it's like, you kind of wonder if he was actually in a good organization. I mean, the two of the three organizations he's played for that he's actually got to be a starting quarterback, where he's meant to be the starting quarterback for, is the New York Jets and the Chicago Bears. Some of the most dysfunctional organizations in the league. Especially with developing quarterback talent. There's not really anywhere else that's worse to go than the Jets and the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer. So it's just like his situations are just terrible. I think he has all the talent in the world to be an NFL quarterback, and he shows extreme flashes. He is inconsistent, which I think is going to be a flaw his entire career in the NFL. But you only hope the Jets could really turn this thing around. Aaron Glenn does seem like a good head coach. Even though he hasn't won a game yet, he does keep the team competitive, which is all you can ask for, especially with a roster that's not very good. There was some hope for the Jets. People were like, hey, the Jets actually, I think, can be contending for a playoff spot. I was like, guys, the roster, the talent for this roster is just not quite there. And Justin Fields isn't quite the quarterback to elevate the talent around him. To be honest with you, he needs to have good talent around him to play good as well. But, I mean, I guess you could say that for any quarterback, but Justin Fields is not quite that caliber of quarterback that could elevate that talent around him. But yeah, man, I agree with you. I think the talent's all there, but he hasn't had any success in his career. When you look at his win-loss ratio, it's absolutely atrocious. It is really bad. So, but he's played for two of some of the worst organizations in the NFL. Sorry, Bears and Jets fans. But it's really led to him just struggling. It really has. So I feel for Justin Fields. Hopefully he can end up going somewhere, or the Jets build around him and really build a good team. They've hit on some draft picks, especially some offensive linemen. Bryce Hall's kind of slowed down. He had a really good first game against Pittsburgh, but just the Jets are going to be the Jets around him. So hopefully he can turn it around. Then so can the Jets. Last question here today is hot take here. But is Dirk Nowitzki's ring actually overrated? His team had multiple high-level players who weren't in their prime necessarily or not in their prime necessarily anymore, but were great. And people think it was just Dirk. What are your thoughts? P.S. I could go on about this all day. I do agree to a certain extent. I actually had a conversation with this with my friends not that long ago, like a month or two ago, about Dirk Nowitzki's 2011 ring. I was like, well, when people mention it was only Dirk, like, they've never seen quite someone carry their team as much as they did, which Dirk was incredible. I'm not taking anything away from him in any series, but he beat Portland. He swept the Lakers, the defending champs, the defending champ Los Angeles Lakers. He swept them, and then he went on to go beat the Big Three in OKC as well in the Western Conference Finals, and then went on to beat the Big Three in the NBA Finals with the Miami Heat. I mean, it was pretty incredible. But, I mean, that team did not have bums on it. Like, there was just, it wasn't like there was no one around them, which people kind of like to make it seem. I mean, he had J.J. Barea, he had Caron Butler still, he had Tyson Chandler, Jason Kidd, Sean Marion, Steve Novak, who was all right, but Jason Terry, Peja Stojakovic. I mean, there was some really good players on that team still. Jason Kidd wasn't quite in his prime anymore, but Jason Kidd was still really damn good anyway. I mean, those players don't necessarily have to be in their prime anymore to still be really good players. Tyson Chandler was a Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know. Did he win Defensive Player of the Year that year? I can't remember. But he was on an all-team defensive all-team defense. Oh my God, I cannot speak right now. Sorry, but a bunch of things going on in my mind. I got college here in a few hours. I got to edit everything going on. Got a bunch of things in my mind, but you guys get what I'm saying. That team was definitely not full of bums at all. I mean, he had a really good roster around him still. But in terms of him being the main guy on that team, there's absolutely no doubt about it. Jason Terry played really well as well. Jason Kidd, Tyson Chandler. I mean, that was still a really, really good roster. And he did make the finals back in 2006 against Dwayne Wade as well. When Dwayne Wade won, they didn't quite win it then. But yeah, I do agree with you to an extent. I think that ring, it's not an overrated ring at all. The ring is still really incredible. The run he went on, the teams he beat, that's something that can't be taken away from him. And he played he was pretty unstoppable in those series. But in terms of the people saying that he was really the only player on that team, and they didn't really take a look at the rest of the roster, they really should, because that roster was still really good as well. They really helped him. Jason Kidd's defense, especially locked down Dwayne Wade in that series, and their scoring was really good as well. Tyson Chandler's defense, especially on that Chris Bosh and stuff, man. I mean, LeBron really struggled in that Miami series because Dallas's defense was so good, especially underneath. So, yeah, man, I don't necessarily think that ring was overrated. Or I do think it was a tad bit overrated, just because people think that it was only Dirk who did that. It was only Dirk who got them to win that ring. That roster was very good otherwise. Still had some really good players on that team, but I'm not going to take anything away from Dirk, man. That was a hell of a run. But that is it for today's episode. And I got college here in a few hours. Unfortunately, or else I could go on for like literally over an hour about this stuff, to be completely honest with you. So, yeah, man, that is it for today's episode. Another Why Not Wednesday in the books. Tomorrow, we're going to be going over some things I missed on Monday when I couldn't upload, unfortunately. Some technical issues. God, that's really frustrating. I hate technical issues. But, yeah, man, I'll be back here tomorrow. We got slips for Sundays here on Friday. We're already almost at the end of the week already. Everyone have a good rest of your day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.